What's up, y'all? I was on Uncle Lou's channel yesterday. Shout out to Uncle Lou. And I got into a little bit of an argument with one of his fans on his video where he talks about bold projections and stuff for certain teams. And I picked four teams to make the playoffs. I picked Georgia at one. I think I had Ohio State at two. I had USC at three. And I had NC State at four. Look, um, Clemson's usually the ACC team, the best team. They're usually the team that goes to the playoffs. Look, those days are over. I said it last year. They were going to start going downhill. They were not going to make the playoffs. They probably weren't going to win the ACC. They barely won 10 games. They're done. They're not coming back this year. I don't care who says what. I've seen the spring game. Same issues with the offense. Your defense is amazing. But now that teams have played your defense last year and you've lost players since then, people are going to figure you out better and find ways to score on you. And your offense is still crap. Expect a few more losses. I'm not saying Clemson won't make a bowl game or will struggle to make a bowl game, but now it's more likely, especially since Dabo Swinney doesn't want to change anything. But you also have Miami out there that people are saying will make a New Year's Six with Mario Cristobal. Look, Mario Cristobal is a great coach and all that. I get that. He can also recruit, but the problem is the team he inherited isn't a bad team, but they're not an elite team. They won't even beat Clemson right now because their offensive line couldn't block Clemson. And their defense wouldn't be able to stop Clemson's offense. That's how bad their defense was this past year. So you're telling me he's going to fix all that in 1 year? 2 years, 3 years, yeah, he can fix all that and make them an elite team. Can Miami win games? Given that they're in the ACC, yeah, they probably will win at least 8 or 9, 10 games max. They'll probably even beat Florida State in 2022, which I'll make a video on later. But besides the point, NC State's a really good football team. They're bringing back their quarterback, Leary. They're bringing back most of their offensive line, except for one guy that's going in the first round I know of. Their defense is coming back. They got a lot of players coming back. I remember they beat Clemson convincingly at home last year. Thing is, they did it once, they can do it again. And I know it's in Clemson this year, but aside from Clemson and FSU, the rest of their schedule is pretty winnable. So, and I think they have Texas Tech, but they're a better team than Texas Tech. And think about it, they were disrespected this past year in the bowl season. They were supposed to play UCLA in the Holiday Bowl. And as we all know, I made a video about that bowl and who I thought would win. I picked NC State because they had more of the prove in that game than UCLA. I think they're a team that's on the rise. I think they're the next ACC's best. So it's just all the players that come back. And Dave Dorian, the head coach, if I'm saying his name right, he's doing a great job with NC State. That made his second or third 9-win season. Should have been a 10-win season. I think they would have beat UCLA. I wasn't impressed with them. They beat LSU. Okay, LSU barely made a bowl last year. But not that this LSU, but it's just something that tells me there's always that one team that nobody expects to make the playoffs. Think about it. 2019, LSU was the team. They won the whole thing. 2020, you didn't really have a surprise team. I mean, everybody expected Clemson and Notre Dame. But I would say most people didn't think Ohio State would have made it because they had to play Penn State and were supposed to play. Look, before COVID happened, if you looked at their schedule, they had Oregon, they had Penn State, they had Michigan, all teams that give them a hard time. So if they had lost any of those games, they wouldn't have made it. That year they made it with little games, so I guess they could be the surprise team. This past year it was Michigan. Okay, now usually that surprise team doesn't make it all the way. So I'm not saying NC State wouldn't make it, but talent-wise they wouldn't be able to do it. The thing is, Michigan last year was not as talented as Georgia or Alabama. Okay, but they had enough age and experience and good players. See, when you're older, like Oklahoma State, for example, this past year, they didn't have more talent than Oklahoma. But because they had a bunch of super seniors and a lot of guys that got a lot of playing time and reps against a younger Oklahoma team, even if you have more talent, doesn't mean you're going to be the better player when it comes to college. It's like a more talented first-year NFL rookie saying he's going to outperform somebody who's pretty good in the NFL who's been there for a little while. That other guy's probably going to win initially, if that makes sense. But I think NC State's the team to look out for in the ACC. I think they have what it takes to go undefeated. They have FSU at home. As we all know, that's normally a competitive game as far as the score goes. But for the last 5 meetings, NC State, 2017, 2018, 2020, and 2021 last year, for the last 5, aside from 2019, they beat FSU. Okay, whatever the excuses are, they did it. So they'll probably beat them this year. And I'm an FSU fan, so I'm admitting that. Okay, they have that team. They'll probably beat Texas Tech. The rest of their schedule: Louisville, I think they have North Carolina, who they're better than right now, despite the talent. They have East Carolina and other teams they'll beat, and then it's Clemson. They can easily beat Clemson again, and you can't really say that Clemson wasn't that good. I mean, Clemson was a good team, but they weren't elite. NC State had the better team. They were better coached that day. They blocked well up front. They'll probably do it again. That's this past year. I didn't even know who Leary was. I knew another quarterback that they have. I forgot his name. I think he played for FSU. He lit up a lot of teams. He lit up FSU. So that tells me they're going to have someone else there. And again, David O'Dorian, no one thinks about NC State, but if you look at their spring game, if you look at the roster they got a bunch of seniors, a lot of older players that are coming back, and the new players, it's more older players that are there already that know how to play for NC State and how to make plays. They're going to get better. And then you have very few younger guys that don't have as many snaps or have snaps but not enough snaps or not at all. But they'll still contribute to the team. So for that reason, and again, Miami will be an improved team. I don't expect them to be elite, but I don't think they'll beat NC State. And then again, Crystal Ball is a better coach than O'Dorian or Dave Dorian. Dorian. I'm sorry I'm saying his name wrong, but his team has more talent. Like, they don't have more. I'd say as far as talent goes, they're a little more talented. But it's Mario Cristobal's first year with Miami. And the thing is, he was with Oregon, who had way more talent. He still couldn't make a college football playoff. He still couldn't take them to a New Year's Six bowl this past year. You know what I mean? So I'm not too impressed with what he can do in 1 year. I'll give him a few years, and I wouldn't be surprised if Miami makes the playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised if Miami beats Clemson and Florida State more consistently. They've beaten FSU pretty consistently, but they still didn't do it this past year. So I think Miami would be the team to win the ACC championship. I don't think they're going to do it just because I think it's about NC State's got older guys that have paid their dues. I think they'll play better. They won't be really better coached. Like, again, Mario Cristobal can coach, but it's his first year. Now, if he'd been there for a few years with Miami building that team, NC State ain't beating him. Probably would still be a phenomenal game, but I still think NC State would be the better team. I think it's just their year. Like Michigan last year was their year. Year before that was Ohio State's year until they lost to Bama. No, Bama was their year, undefeated. Before that, LSU. Before that, Clemson. It's a new team every year. It's their year. This year, I think it's NC State's year because you'll see them do some stuff that they never do. So they'll go 12-0 in the regular season. I'm already calling it. They'll beat whoever's in the ACC championship, most likely Miami. And if it's North Carolina, they'll probably beat them again. And they'll make it to the playoff and probably get beat. But if they made all the way, that'd be awesome. It's the ACC. So, yeah. NC State, minimum 12-2, 13-2, something like that, if they win the ACC championship, which I think they will. That's just my opinion. Wolfpack will get it done.